Thanks, POV. At this point, I'm yelling her name like a lunatic. She's nowhere to be found. I try to find her footprints in the snow, but they were washed away by the storm. My heart is pounding in my chest. I can't even imagine in what condition she would be in. What if she... No, no, no. Think positive, Thai. I kept sprinting through the snow, despite the severe winds ripping my skin, yet the ache in my heart for her absence hurt more. I leaned against a tree for support, and my gaze was drawn to a hand poking out from behind a tree. I dashed to the other side and... Vine rushed towards her unconscious body and embraced her tightly while panting hard. Vine opened her eyes slightly and an unknown smile adorned her pale lips, and an expression of relief washed over her face. Am I already in hell? Slowly whispered in Thai's ear. Sniffles due to crying. Huh? Asked confusedly while facing her, looking at her with his steady eyes. I don't think you could make it to heaven, so this must be hell. Looked at him with her half-opened eyes and smiled a little. After a moment of silence. You have chosen the worst time to joke. He stared at her lovingly and chuckled, while tears streamed down his cheek. Let's go. He stood up despite being in pain and took her in his arms in bridal style. I'm going to die, whispered. You are crazy for coming behind me. If you are going to die, then let's do this together. Kept walking in the snow and stopped. Let's see what afterlife have for us. Who said I'd be with you in the afterlife? Asked in a cracked hoarse voice. Bold of you to assume that I'll leave you alone after death. Held her more tightly as it became harder for him to hold her and walk through the snow and storm. The journey didn't seem to come to an end, but he didn't lose hope. When he didn't hear her voice, he shook her in his embrace and she moved a little. Don't close your eyes, love. Help is nearby. We just have to reach the camping site. Tried desperately to wake her up. Her breath hissed. Want to sleep. Closed her eyes again. Storm was still not calming down. Thai was also freezing from cold. There was no part of his body which was not in pain, yet he was feeling numb. He attempted to take a step forward, but his legs seemed to stop working, and he dropped to his knees, clutching Vine in his arms. He shouted in despair and pain. Be happy. I'm dying in your arms. Spoke with eyes closed and trembling lips. Thai couldn't say anything. He just shook his head in denial. Whispered, and a sob escaped from his lips. This is not the end. This can never be the end. I won't let it be. He gathered all his courage and took her pale, lifeless figure in bridal style and continued going in the direction he remembered coming from. Going a little further, he saw their camps. We made it, precious. Look at mine. Open your eyes, Vian. He panicked as Wine was not moving or breathing. Her body was stiff and cold. His tension made him run in the direction of camps with all his remaining might. He reached the camps and found no one around. He screamed for help but no one answered. The storm was so powerful that half of the camps were destroyed and the rest would be demolished in no time. He looked around frantically and finally spotted a cave-like shade. He dashed towards it, clutching Wine tightly in his embrace. He placed her on the floor and checked her pulse. Her heartbeat was too slow, but still it gave him a hope. Strong wind was still coming inside the cave, so he again went toward camps, leaving Wine in the cave. His spirits were unmatched. He fought with death for both of their lives. He gathered some camps remaining to close the opening of the cave and some remaining woods. He returned to Wine and quickly closed the cave mouth and lit the fire inside. At this point, he was about to pass out due to exhaustion. He approached Wine and checked her once more. She was still cold and motionless. "Wake up," whispered while sitting. "Wake up, love," said a little louder. "Wake up, Wine, you can't do this to me. Please don't die on me, please." He let his body fall on hers and cried like a kid while snuggling his face in her neck. She shifted a little in his embrace, causing him to sit up straight. She moved because she felt the warmth of his body. He stared at her and watched her lips turning blue. He paused for a moment before rubbing his hands together and placing them on her mouth to keep her lips warm, but it didn't happen. So without hesitation, he deepened because she uttered a tiny sound as she felt warmth on her cold lips. After a few minutes, he drew back and noticed that her lips were returning to normal. He looked at her clothes and decided to take a risky decision. With trembling hands, he took her wet clothes off, then hurriedly removed his too, wrapped both of their bodies in the blanket that he grabbed from camp earlier, and said while telling her, "You might hate me after this. I'm sorry, love." He gulped and a single tear rolled down his cheek. On the other hand, Jungkook's POV. We reached hotel safely and got the news by the weather forecast that the storm was extremely powerful. The seniors bus also arrived and I saw Yeri coming out of it. I approached her and asked, "Yeri, where is Wyan?" Randomly looking at the door of bus to look for Wyan. Froze on her place. "What?" whispered in shock. "I'm asking you something, Yeri." Shakes her by her shoulder, sensing something is off. "Will you answer me before I get a heart attack?" Breathing heavy in panic. She saw Amy passing by, so she harshly grabbed her and asked, "You said Vine is with Jungkook. Where is she?" Yelled loudly, capturing everyone's attention. Fake innocent expression. "Wasn't she with you, Jungkook?" Showing fake concern. Watching the scene, Jimin and teachers approached them, grabbed Jungkook's hand. "What happened?" Jungkook was not even able to breathe, but he still gulped the lump of fear and whispered, "Why not?" Painfully uttered her name. She is left behind in the storm. His knees gave up and he sat on the ground. Time to. He went behind her, crying and sobbing. Rushed towards Amy. "Why didn't you tell us before?" His face went pale in tension. I tried. No one was listening. Then I sobbed. Told Amy. She sat there with Jungkook, held her head and sat on the floor. Teacher asked Amy and she merely answered, I was mistaken, sir. I mistook someone else for Ryan. Sorry, sir. Bowed and tried to fake cry. Jungkook stood up in anger and stormed towards Amy. "Is your story going to bring them back?" Was about to lunge on Amy, but teacher grabbed and stopped him. "I'm going to ruin you if something happens to them." "Let's not waste time. Let's go." Was about to rush towards the bus, but principal stopped him. "It's too risky. You can't go. Storm still hasn't stopped yet." All the students looked at principal's face in disbelief. Jimin scoffed and harshly spat. "Then we should rescue them after their death? We can't take any more risk," strictly said. "And if something happened to them, then I'll be first in line to sue you and your college." Principal is Jungkook's uncle, but he didn't care before threatening him. Teachers attempted to persuade the principal, and senior stubbornness won in the end. Jimin and Jungkook got ready to go with the rescue team. "Take me to. A girl is needed to take care of a girl," requested with hopeful eyes. Jungkook gave her a brief glance before nodding slightly and avoiding eye contact. Before getting on the bus, Gary stood in front of Amy and a loud voice echoed and Amy stumbled back due to the impact. No one dared to utter a word. "They can't hit you, but I can. Remaining punishment will be given after we save them." Gave Amy a contemptuous look and boarded the bus. Amy stood still in her place in embarrassment, placing her hand on her red printed cheek. On the way. Everyone was tense and eager to get there as fast as possible, but the speed of time made it much more difficult. Gary was continuously crying and drowning in guilt, so Jungkook said, your crying going to help them? Asked Little rudely. Are you out of your mind, Jungkook? Scolded Jungkook. He's right, Jimin. It's my fault. Sobs. I shouldn't have let her go alone. Cries hard. Jimin shook his head in denial, but from inside he felt soulless, like he has lost his everything he had. Jungkook gaze softened and he said, sorry. He looks down, and tears burst from his eyes, which he had been trying to control for way too long. But after a while, rescue team stopped the bus and one of them said, we can't go any further as it's night time, so it's impossible to hike right now. We will continue the operation early in the morning. Everyone's faces went pale as their hopes were crushed. What do you mean by that? Getting angry. Do you think so they will survive that long? We have to be quick if we want to rescue them alive. His brain popped due to anger and Sir, we can't do anything, but the good news is the storm has slowed down. We'll start hiking in about 2 hours, as there would be sufficient light to begin the rescue.